Hi, I'm Jefferson Smith, fantasy author and host of the ImmerseOrDie Report, and this is another installment of the 5-Minute Immersion Lab. Today, I'm going to talk about a problem I call suffocated empathy. If you're watching this series, then you probably already know that to be truly engaging, a story needs to be built around a dramatic struggle, which consists of 3 fundamental components: the goal, the opposition, and the stakes. To put it simply, somebody needs to want something. There needs to be credible opposition to him attaining it, and there have to be serious consequences if he fails. But even having all 3 of those is still not enough. There's a 4th element that's absolutely crucial for immersion. In fact, it's so crucial and so obvious that most how-to books don't even think to mention it. In the same way that most instructional videos about bowling don't think to mention that all the best bowlers require a steady supply of oxygen. I'm talking about context. Without it, no reader will give the slightest damn about your struggle, no matter how dramatic it might seem to you. It's not enough that your story has those 3 elements. The reader also needs to know about them, ideally before anything happens that you want her to care about. Context is the oxygen that allows her emotional brain to breathe, and without it, immersive cognition shuts down. To understand what I mean, let's take a look at a short reading. And as always, it'll be read for us by my 2-dimensional sidekick. Fabrizzio?
Moonlight rippled along its length as it flexed in triumph. Squeezed. She wanted to run, but she couldn't. All she could do was stare, her mouth open to scream, but no breath inside to feed it. No breath. No breath. No.
Thanks, Fabrizzio. Now, that was reasonably descriptive, but did you feel anything? Probably not. The author of that scene may have had a dramatic struggle in mind, but coming in cold like that, you don't know who the players are or what's at stake. And without that, your emotional response suffocates. You don't care who wins. But let's try that scene again. Only this time, we'll roll the camera back to an earlier point and let you get a few background details about the situation first.
Little Debbie trembled in her crib, clutching Mr. Woofy to her chest so they could stare together into the darkness. Something had slithered across her legs. She'd felt it. Could it have been Auntie Carmen's pretty snake? But there was nothing there now, and snakes don't just disappear. Even she knew that. It must have been a dream. And now, a few paragraphs later, moonlight rippled along its length as it flexed in triumph. Squeezed. She wanted to run, but she couldn't. All she could do was stare, her mouth open to scream, but no breath inside to feed it. No breath. No breath. No.
How was that? Did you feel something this time? Of course you did, because now the squeezing means something. It's no longer some abstract event happening to some abstract character. You know enough to be emotionally engaged. Now you're rooting for little Debbie, hoping somebody will burst into that room so that you don't have to watch a toddler die alone in the dark. See, here's the important point. Drama in a story does not get its weight from what happens. It comes from who it happens to and what the consequences are. If we don't know these things, we can't work up the muster to give a damn. Events without a people dimension are just facts, like wars on the evening news from some distant continent. Unfortunately, many writers hear the advice to start your story with a bang and open up on some all-important battle scene or with the souffle falling on Bake-Off Day. But without context, those openings are flat. Just a chaos of actions that have no emotional impact. The start of a story actually has 2 jobs. Yes, it has to hook the reader deeply enough to keep them engaged, but it also has to backfill the context quickly enough so that the reader can begin feeling the story. But having said that, you also have to be careful how you provide that context. You can't prime a reader's empathy by telling her what to feel. Readers only react with genuine feeling for things they've realized for themselves. And for that to happen, you have to show them the facts and then let them connect the emotional dots for themselves. What dots exactly? Well, notice in the example that Fabrizzio never said anything about Debbie being crushed to death by a python or that she was all alone. Those were all conclusions that you reached for yourself, because you were given enough information to reach them through evaluation, extrapolation, and prediction. That's where a reader's emotion comes from. Not from you telling her what to feel, but from her reacting to the things she figured out for herself. And that just can't happen if you fail to deliver on context. Anyway, that's it for this week. Check the description for links to some example books, and I'll see you back here next week for another dose of immersion therapy. But remember, immersion happens naturally. All you have to do is get out of the way.